Awesome. Thank you so much for jumping on today, Marcus. I really appreciate you jumping on. How's your weekend going so far?
Pretty good, and thank you for having me here. So I'm really happy to talk about my career and especially about AI with you. So I really like this topic. And Sunday was really nice so far. So it's today sunny here in Germany, and
Nice.
we already was walking outside with my kids and my wife. So yeah, pretty good.
That's nice. That's awesome. And yeah, I'm also very excited to talk about the technical aspect of it because I don't think I have been able to dive deeper into AI from the technical aspect with any of my other guests. So this is an exciting opportunity for me to learn about it. But before we jump into that, why don't you give a little bit of context of your career so far? And I know you're like a machine learning expert, but I also know you didn't start off there. In school you picked another course and then moved your way into this. So if you can give our listeners a little bit of context of your journey so far, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I started with machine learning. It's a long time ago, so it's I think 8 or 10 years ago when I started with machine learning, and that was more about data analytics. So when I started,
Mm,
originally I came from electrical engineering, so this was what I studied in university.
yeah.
And I mean, it's sometimes similar because it's also lots of mathematics, and machine learning is and AI is also lots of mathematics, so it's quite similar in some parts, but yeah, I would say the engineering part is really different because in electrical engineering you have all the hardware stuff, and in AI it's mostly programming, right, and data. Um, and yeah, so in my study as electrical engineering, I mean, I already started with analyzing lots of data, for example, for smart grids to analyze how the power are distributed in a grid system, and there I get the first feeling what is actually AI or what you can do with data, and this actually inspired me to switch the career after my study. And I started my first job by Daimler, so it's a car manufacturer in Germany. So me see this as a data analyst. So this was not directly machine learning, so it was more about analytic, so analyze data and give the management advice what we can do. And in this time, it was I think 6 or 7 years ago. Electrical vehicles was a big topic. So for the strategic management, so the decision was made if we produce electric cars or not,
Mm.
and therefore we analyzed driving behaviors from customer. And this was actually my first job. And yeah, it was
That's such
rolling.
an exciting project because EVs are now all the rage, right? Now everyone is talking about EVs and how, Tesla and other car companies are able to look at driving behavior, record paths. How did you get access to that kind of data 7 or 8 years ago? Because that time, I don't know, were there cars that recorded where you're going and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, the recording was not perfect. So it was more data about how healthy the car is. So it was more how I can
Mm,
say this. So it's what was more service data. So therefore, our job was to fill actually the gaps. So it was not really a really good log of data where we see actually where the customer drive to and so on. It was more service logging. So it was maybe after every 10 or 5 kilometers, it was a log, and then it was
mm,
writing the data inside the logs. But therefore, our job was more to fill actually the gaps. So it was quite not so easy actually.
mhm.
But yeah, 8 years ago, it was not so common, especially for older companies like car manufacturer to track all the data.
Yeah.
I guess nowadays it's much different. So I think now they track everything.
That is very exciting. And now you are in the e-commerce industry, right? Like in your day job?
Yes, yes, yes. And yeah. Now I'm in e-commerce, and now I have really it's machine learning engineer rules, so it's really technical. So it's go really deep. So it's about
Mm,
collecting data and also again make sense of the data, but it's also about building products, so end-to-end products. For example, recommendation engine for e-commerce shopper like on Amazon, you can see sometimes the recommendation systems.
yeah. That's very exciting. And I can see the difference in the two industries already because over there was not a lot of data. Over here, I'm guessing there is so much data that you
Mm.
have to like parse out the useful data from the not so useful data to create models and forecasts. Am I right?
Yeah, totally. And also the industry changed a lot. I mean, 8 years ago, I was handling Excel sheets, so it was too super differently, or CSV files or something. And now, I mean, where I work now in e-commerce, I handle really, really big data sets. So it's, I don't know,
Mm,
many terabytes of data. And normally you have totally different systems. So it's more about scale. So to scale the systems, and it's quite complex. But yeah, you're right. We have all the data we need, and we can also define what additional data we want. So we can have actually every data we want. So
mm.
yeah,
That's very exciting. This is a very exciting topic for me because I was researching about recommendation engines and how AI and machine learning is used to build recommendation engines and how long that process takes and how much resources that takes to build a recommendation engine that actually works. And I was watching a video and they were talking about different KPIs that e-commerce companies track. For example, D30, like after 30 days, how many people come back to purchase from the e-commerce website?
mm, mm,
Are there certain KPIs that you are also optimizing for when you're building those recommendation engines?
I mean, there are many metrics. So I mean, you was talking more about the business metrics. So
Yeah, that's true.
there's also like bounce rate and click-through rate, and so that's all more about the business metrics. And when we go into the technical details, so do we have normally different metrics because you need some metrics to train actual models. Then you have, for example, F1 score or precision. So
Mhm.
how well the model present the right products, for example, a customer, you can measure this with metrics. And yeah, there you have more technical metrics to actually train the model and optimize the model.
That's
So
very cool. Okay. So it's like the business objectives then gets translated into product requirements, and then based on that, you have technical KPIs.
I mean, normally everything starts with GMV, right? So GMV is the most important metrics for for every business.
Yeah.
So normally start at the management level on this topic, so GMV increase or optimization, and then we break this down into different systems and then into different
Right.
metrics. But at the end, it goes all back to GMV. So this is what the goal is, to increase the GMV, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I also read about data drift. Is that something you deal with on a daily basis? Like to understand the difference in your training data and the user behavior at that point in time. And also the cold start problem when suppose I am a new person who jumps on and you don't know anything about me. How do you start recommending products?
Yeah. Good topics. So, I mean, for us, where I work currently as my day job, we don't have this cold start problem totally, and because I
Mhm.
mean, we are really big. We are most one of the biggest company in Germany, I would say, in the e-commerce space, behind Amazon maybe. So we have a lot of data.
Yeah.
Therefore, maybe cold start problem is not every time a problem only when we, for example, go to a different country. So when you go to a different country, you have a different language, then you have maybe the quota start problem, but you can maybe also adjust the data you have. For example, you could translate English data to German data to have starting data set. It's not perfect, but it's a good starting point. And data drift, I would say this is always for every machine learning engineer and every AI a problem, because like a good example is Corona, right? So in Corona, the behavior of the people totally changed, and this hurts most of the models.
Yeah.
So, I guess Amazon also had problems with their recommendation systems in this time,
Mm.
because I mean the behavior was changing so fast that the model can't adjust this fast, and therefore you get then maybe not the best recommendations. But yeah, this is really important. So you have to track this all the time if you have a data drift or something.
That makes sense. Do you think AI is going to make the data drift problem worse? When I say that, there
Mm.
because AI is developing so rapidly, what's happening is a lot of the way the users interact with the product is also changing. For example, before everything was you had to Google it, search it, and then come back and maybe, interact with the product. But now, because there are AI chatbots and AI assistants, there is a change in behavior. You probably don't have to go through the product documentation. The product documentation is already fed into the AI assistant, and that will walk you through the process as you're using the new software that you just downloaded. Do you think that makes this data drift situation worse because now the behaviors of people is changing the way they're interacting with AI, or you have not seen that yet?
An interesting thought. I mean, right now for us this is not a problem, so we don't see this.
Hmm.
But maybe also e-commerce is differently. I mean, currently I think chatbots still play a really small role
Important.
in e-commerce.
Oh, okay.
So also Amazon don't have really. I mean, I saw I think yesterday a bot on a German storefront by Amazon, but I think this is also really, I mean, really small share of the revenue currently.
Hmm.
But I guess if it increase, I mean, could be change some. I mean, some work we did in the past maybe changed a little bit, and we have to adjust this.
Right.
I can only talk about myself, so I'm using Google Search now really, really less.
Less.
So I'm using mostly Perplexity now for search. When I do the research, I mean, it's so much better for me. And also, I go more about I search often more in social media like Reddit. So there's
Mm,
also Gummy Search. This I'm also using often. Um, and yeah, code assistants, right? So from developer side, I would say my behavior changed a lot. But from the e-commerce side, I think the general consumer don't change so heavily currently. Yeah.
yeah. That makes sense because I feel like we're also in a bubble. We are surrounded by people who are staying on top of all the news and all the developments in AI. So they're trying something new. So we are also adopting AI much quicker. But I know a lot of my friends who still don't use, forget Perplexity. They don't even use
Yeah,
ChatGPT as
agree.
much as I do, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, you should check out Claude. You should check out. They're like, what? What are these words? I don't know what you're talking about, right? So I feel like it's because we are in a bubble. We're able to we know everything that's going on, but the larger population is yet to catch up to all of the advancements that are happening, which is exciting because we're ahead of the curve. But it's also like, oh wow, we get to see the impact it's going to have on
Mm.
industry in the coming
Yeah.
years. So that's exciting.
I mean, what is funny, I think, what have much more impact on e-commerce, I mean, especially on e-commerce, is actually social media. So I have a really good example from Germany. So I think it started 3 or 4 weeks ago. There's the special chocolate in Germany. It's called Dubai chocolate. I'm not sure if it's also in Canada the case, but in Germany, Dubai chocolate was actually, so it was a product that was promoted on social media, I think on TikTok.
Yeah.
We see now on our e-commerce shop that this is, I think, the fifth or sixth most often searched word this month. It's crazy, and it was a product that came from nowhere. So it was some social media trend, and now everyone want to buy this chocolate in Germany. So therefore, I would say social media have
Oh,
even more impact on product development or
that's
trends than AI currently.
that makes me ask you, have you been seeing a lot of stiff competition from TikTok shop and Instagram shop? Because that's a new trend where
Mm.
social media is integrating in. Because if earlier I could only just see the products and I'd
Mm.
be like, I have to go look for this on the web. Now with TikTok shop and Amazon, and not Amazon, TikTok and Instagram, these are two
Mm.
big,
Or
so
what?
where you can buy the product from their stores itself. Is that impacting the e-commerce companies and giants significantly, or you're not feeling that impact as of yet because it's not big enough?
I mean, for giants, I think they don't feel this, but I think it's important for smaller shops, right? I mean, it's an additional platform where you can sell or where you can market your products. So I think for them, it's really interesting. Also, maybe this combined with AI, right? So you could maybe build a bot where you can place into the Instagram shop and you can, I don't know,
That's a great idea.
help and maybe increase the conversion rate, right? Could be an interesting case.
Yeah, that's a very interesting case. Okay, I'm not going to take us down that tangent because I want to bring back the conversation. So, now that you're in the e-commerce space, all of that, it's a very exciting space. What got you into indie hacking? When did you join that community and what was your goal? Was it always that I want to start something of my own, or was it just I want to meet other, technical folk like me and
Mm.
see what they're doing?
I mean, I'm working now in e-commerce as a day, so as employee since 3 years, so 6
Mhm.
ago. And before this, I had my own startup with my brother, and it was
Mhm.
also about e-commerce, but it was not successful.
Mhm.
And therefore, now I'm back as an employee. But my dream was always to have something by my own.
Mhm.
Therefore, I started indie hacking. With my startup before, it was about, it was a venture capital grown startup.
Mhm.
But I noticed really fast that this is nothing for me. So therefore, I decided this time don't have this kind of startup, but instead I want to have a startup that I have own control on and
Mhm.
grow by myself. And therefore indie hacking was the most obvious part. And it's
Yeah.
also a nice thing to do it by side, so not so much risk. And you can meet lots of cool people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. When did you get into indie hacking?
I mean, I'm on X now a long time, so I would say 1 year, even more, I think, on X. But now really in indie hacking since 6 weeks or something, or 8 weeks, when I met Andrew and you,
Yeah.
and also started my first product with you, so What's in Track.
Yeah.
And this is also my first revenue, my first online revenue really with indie hacking. So therefore I'm pretty fresh, I would say.
Nice. That's very exciting. So you had like a VC backed startup and then you decided that you want to try something of your own for the control factor. And I hear this from a lot of VC funded founders as well that when you start off, there's this mentality of let's grow at any cost. We will raise more. If we need more money, we'll raise more money. Whereas indie hacking, you have to be sustainable from day one,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Does that difference have any impact on the technical build or technical side? When I say that, for example, is it more easy to accumulate technical debt in VC built startup because you're like, we'll just build something, we'll fix it later. Versus indie hacking, you're like, no, no, it has to be well built and well thought of right off the start.
interesting. Yeah. I mean, it depends. I think, I mean, what was the problem with my first company as a VC-backed company? I think the problem was not really the technical side; it was more the marketing side.
Mm,
And I think lots of VC-backed companies have this problem because maybe you don't concentrate so much on making money because you have a lot of money.
yeah,
And I think this will be very fast a problem, and therefore I think so many VC-backed companies fails because the marketing part is totally missing. Also, they are really often only technical founders, right? So
yes,
therefore, I think technical is maybe not so the problem because I think these days you can build things so much faster, and also with a high quality because of the AI. So you can concentrate really on building good technical solutions,
yeah,
but the marketing side I think is super crucial. So therefore I like really indie hacking because you can, I mean, you need to make money directly because I mean
yeah. There's no money to fall back on. There's no money in the bank waiting for you, and VCs going like, here, take our money. So you have to
yeah,
keep that in mind.
yeah,
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
And for your previous startup, how did you meet your co-founder, or did you have a co-founder?
It was my brother. So
Okay.
yeah, so I mean, this time I was working by Daimler by
Uh-huh.
Mercedes, and he was talking about his e-commerce startup where he wanted to. optimize product data for eBay seller.
Okay.
And I really like this idea because it was also about AI and data cleaning and data optimization. So this was
Yeah.
what I liked.
Yeah.
And therefore I decided to join because it was a little bit boring by then when you see this. I mean, at the beginning it's always nice to work for big corporates, but yeah, after sometimes 2 or 3 years, it gets a little bit boring sometimes because
Yeah.
every day is the same. And yeah,
Yeah.
therefore I decided to switch. So yeah.
Got it. Okay. And how long did you guys build that company for?
I would say pretty long, 2 or 3 years. And I think it was too long. So this is totally different to indie hacking, right? So we built Swarson track, I think, in 2 weeks. The
Yeah.
first. So, and then I think this is also a nice thing about indie hacking because you can validate your product super fast, and I think this is super important, especially in
Yeah.
this world we live today. So yeah.
That is true. That is true. And when you said you took 2 or 3 years, was that pre-revenue? Was all of it pre-revenue, or did you release a product and then you figured out that okay, we need to make some changes or there's no product market fit?
I mean, we started and we built, I think, the product, the first version, in 3 or 4 months, and then we
Hmm.
had a customer. But it was also about, yeah, I would say, product market fit, because
Mm.
it's really hard for us to get enough customer. I think we was around 100 customer, but this was actually the limit, so we was not able to get more customer. And yeah, maybe it was too niche or something. But
Mm.
yeah.
Got it. Okay. That's very interesting. And I like how you drew parallels to what we're doing with Watson Track of how here it has to be quick and, and iterative. Does that sometimes create pressure on you, or does that make it more fun for you? Because over here, speed is more important. Over
Mm.
there, because we had a longer runway with VC backed startups, you can really sit down and perfectly build a product.
I would say, it's a fun part. It's also, the main part is also, I think, development changed so rapidly the last few years. So
Uh-huh.
when we founded the startup, Wrangleb was the name, 4 years ago,
Uh-huh.
this was a totally different world. So we hired also someone who built actually the back end and front end for us. So this was also
Okay.
really expensive for us. But today, Watson Track, I'm the only technical person right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do now everything. So when you can develop something, you
Yeah.
can do actually everything. You can build front and back end. So this is what I learned now the last few weeks. It's maybe not always maybe perfect like a real front end engineer, but it's enough for indie hacking, especially for the start.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think there's not so much pressure. It's more about fun because
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the fast interaction and you learn so much. And I think you need to also see this like a game. So yeah, because you have also not the pressure from VCs, right? So when you have a big
Yeah.
funded company, this pressure from VCs can be so hard and so, yeah, annoying sometimes. For me, this was nothing. So maybe some people can manage this, but for me, it was crazy.
Even in like other VC founders, I have heard this in interviews, read on blog posts, that when you are building a VC backed company, you spend a lot more time convincing the VCs
Mm.
than spend time convincing prospects to be customers.
Yeah.
Like you are more so like VCs are the number one customer, and then your actual customers are at number two because
Mm.
you've taken their money already. Did you find that to be the case as well? Like you spent a lot more time convincing the VCs than actually focusing on building on the for a product for the market?
Yes, yes, absolutely, 100%. It was similar actually. Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. And that's a stress that's not part of indie hacking. So now you can solely focus on what your customers are trying to solve
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, and I think also indie hacking makes it simpler because for indie hacking you have to pick a product that is easily to build and to scale, right? So
Mm.
Watson Track is also, I would call it a micro SaaS because it's attached to
Yeah.
X, so it's much easier to build this kind of product compared to
Yeah.
this next product that normally are products that are, I don't know, okay, it's maybe no too big example, but like Tesla. So this is a product that is built from the ground up. So it's not
Yeah.
really a micro SaaS. It's much bigger.
Yeah.
And this is also the beauty about indie hacking. So you build normally smaller products.
Mhm. That fit into your workflow. It's quick and easy, and it serves one single purpose, like really small function, but it does it really, really well. That makes sense. Okay. But changing gears, I was currently reading somewhere back to like AI and data of your AI can just be as good as your data is, right?
Mm,
Like it can the quality of data that you put in is very important. As a person who lives and breathes in that environment, and who comes from a data background, are there certain things that you do when you're building a training model or something to check the quality of data, or are there specific steps you follow that you would recommend people practice on a daily basis? Because now it might not be training data, but we're all creating our own agents, right? AI agents, because it's easier. And those agents need data. And sometimes I'll just take, random, if I'm trying to create an agent for a blog writing thing, I'll just take random blogs and I'll put it in. And then I crib about why the quality of content that this agent is spitting out not good. Is there anything you would recommend people do from the data
mm,
standpoint so that they can have better results?
mm. So I mean, I would separate this also in traditional machine learning and yeah, current AI. So traditional machine learning is where I'm working, where I'm working currently. And their tracking is really important. I mean, you can't build a machine learning model without tracking the data, so the input and output. But I think this should be also very important for the new kind of AI field. So where you're talking about agents and so on. So I
Mm-hmm.
think what many people currently miss is really the tracking part. So to understand why your agent um, have this output. For this, you need to understand what comes in and what comes out. And I mean, there are so many tools right now that are getting developed in this space, especially for large language models, where you
Mm-hmm.
can really good track this. So what's going in and what's going out, and what data the agent consumed. I think this is the first crucial step you need to do. You have to track all the data, and if you have this tracking, then you can think about how you can use this data. So normally I start really simple and analyze this by myself, so human feedback. But you can enhance this and also so also like systems where you build other agents that take a look inside this in outputs, and then you can also feedback to this. So yeah, this is a really huge field that gets developed currently. So it's still at the beginning, but I think this is really crucial to get actually good agents. So
That's
track.
very interesting. And when you were talking about tools that are being developed to track the data and the output,
Mm,
um, I got excited because I think yesterday or day before I found a very similar company where they measure the quality of performance by different LLMs for enterprises, because the amount of data and output and all
mm,
that happens for huge enterprises is a lot, and there's no, according to them, there is no other company that tracks the performance of all the LLMs in one place. So
mm,
it tracks the quality of a Claude output or a Perplexity output or ChatGPT output for their company with their data, and then it sets benchmarks. So is that something similar to what you were talking about, or am I on a totally different tangent?
I mean, this is a really cool idea. So it's
Hmm.
like benchmarking for other companies, right? So to build benchmarks for them, right? Sounds like
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah. So benchmark is also a really important step. So maybe also on the same level.
yeah.
So with benchmarking, you have a kind of golden standard data set where normally a human classified this or make this data set. But I think also with LMMs, this is maybe possible. And
Hmm.
yeah, then you can test your models once a time. So I think this is a little bit different to tracking. So tracking, it's continue tracking the outputs, and this is more about benchmarking, so test one time and then get results. But I think this is also really important, especially with large language models, because there's so many now, and
Mm-hmm.
also about efficiency, right? So you normally also benchmark different LLMs to save costs, because if you can use a smaller LLM that costs maybe 10 times less than a big one, I think this is really interesting.
Well, it's a VC-backed company, so um, it is a company that like it's an idea that's been funded really, really well. So I'm guessing that there will be more companies that will come up and try
Uh,
to do the same thing and do a lot of competition.
yeah. And I think this is also a good idea, a good example for a company that can't be an indie hacking company, right? Because this is
Yes.
so money intensive. So I think it's super expensive to build these benchmarks
Yeah.
and to run them to different LLMs. So there you need a really big infrastructure to have this actually, to get this work. So yeah, that's a good example for a VC-backed company that there's no
Yeah.
other way around this. So
Yeah. You're gonna need a huge capital investment
mm,
upfront for
yeah,
you to make it work.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that brings me to my next question. Are there tools indie hackers can build for machine learning experts? Because what I'm seeing is in the indie hacking space, a lot of the tools are for marketing, for SEO, for blog writing, and for social media. Are there any problems that can be solved for machine learning experts that can be microsas and it can be done in the indie hacking style?
Interesting. I mean, I have only one idea that came into my mind. So, I mean, one very important step, part of a machine learning engineer and data scientist and everyone that works with data and with AI is to build actually data sets to train these models, right? So when we're talking about traditional machine learning,
Mm-hmm.
what could be maybe a good microsas is to build a tool for them to label the data set. So, for example, when you have a classification data set like good post, bad post, good post, bad post, you could build kind of interface, maybe also with AI, where you can help them to actually train this model.
Mm-hmm.
And this could be also for chatbots, like it could be also a system that help you to train chatbots. So I think this could be a good microsas idea, because it's quite simple and it's really, yeah, niche, right? So and you
Right.
can make money directly from the start. So, yeah, but otherwise, it's, I think, hard, because machine learning, this field is normally for really big companies a field.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially, you need a lot of data, so like recommendation systems or big search engines. This is normally where you have lots of data and it's really complex. But yeah, this idea with training data, I think this could be really interesting.
Hmm. Okay. So there's one free idea out there for people if they want to like build in this space. That's awesome. And I think I know we're close to top of the hour, so I'm gonna be mindful of that. Wrapping this up, what about this space, indie hacking and AI, the culmination of it, is exciting to you? And what's next for you? What are you looking forward to?
So, I mean, what I'm really excited about AI and indie hacking is that when you have developer knowledge, you can build actually everything these days with AI. So, for example, I learned in 6 weeks front end development. So this is totally crazy. So, I mean, 2 years ago, this was impossible for me. So I was only able to build things in the back end. So I was not able to sell something because I was only building back end things and no front end. So I was not able to serve any customer. But now with AI, it's totally crazy. So you can build everything you want, I would say, if you have developer skills. If you don't have developer skills, it's maybe a little bit harder. So you saw often sometimes this X post where Samsung saying, I built this tool in 2 hours without developer knowledge. I think this is more marketing than everything else. So I think it's really hard to make this possible. So therefore, I'm not sure if you can build a fully SaaS like Watson Trade without any developer knowledge. But I think as a developer, you have really, really good skills. You can build now so much with this. What was the second question?
What's next for you and what gets you excited? Yeah.
So what's next for me? So I would say we want to scale Watson Track further, and we are building a secret project together further. I'm not sure if I can talk about this, but I don't think so. And I think this will be also really interesting. So it's also in the same area like Watson Track, but I would say much, much cooler. And I want to learn more about how I can actually leverage AI to build even better products. And my idea is also to share this on X with other people. So my idea is also to build a community around this topic. So how you can use AI as a developer to scale your skills. And yeah, that's it. What I would say. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. And yeah, I'm also very excited for the secret project. I think we will reveal it like once we start actually, doing the thing that we want to. So that's very exciting. And also, one other last question is, because it's the name of the show, what was the one blunder and one breakthrough from your week so far, or from last week?
Okay. Yeah. Maybe this is more a data thingy breakthrough, but for me it was crazy this week because I was working on our Watson Track dashboard V2, and as data scientist, I used in the past lots of Python and also to build dashboards for management and so on. So there I'm using every time Python, but the dashboard I built now with JavaScript, and I came there over a library that calls D3.js. So it's especially for building dashboards or charts, so on. And the Python library is actually all built on this library. And this time, this time I used this library directly, and it was kind of mind blowing because I noticed how cool this library is and what you can build with this when you can build this with JavaScript, and it was totally mind blowing for me. And I mean, I know that since 6 or 8 years in data science, and I never used this library because I was afraid to use JavaScript, and I was not come to this. But now with the new dashboard I built and with AI skills or with AI tools, I was now able to build a really, really cool dashboard, and it's so a nice library. And yeah, this was kind of breakthrough for me. So mind blowing. So crazy times. AI, it's just
I
crazy.
love that. I love that. I love that every time we have an issue or a problem, and we have this thing that, oh my God, I've never done this before, or like, I've not been able to figure this out, and then we crack it, we feel so good, and suddenly your brain just unlocks, and there are so many different ideas and possibilities that you think of, and it's like your brain saying, "Yeah, we can do this. Let's go." And then, it's like
Yeah.
fireworks in your brain. Like, I can just imagine how that must have felt. That's awesome. Do you feel like there are so many other things that you now want to try out and experiment now that you know how to, build directly from that library?
Yeah, totally. I mean, even I could imagine in my daily job, that I could use now this library to build maybe better diagrams, charts to make more sense of the data.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I think this was the best opportunity for me, so Watson Track, to actually learn JavaScript and
Yeah.
dig deep into this kind of language, because I also came over a new library, so Remotion, where you can actually program videos. So this is also really cool. So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we live it's a crazy world with AI, and I mean, totally crazy.
I totally agree. I did take a look at Remotion because you shared it, and then when I saw it, I was like, I cannot believe this. Like, even for I as a non-technical person could have never imagined the things that we can now do. Um, I had a similar experience when I was trying Bolt AI and
Mhm.
Zero, because I was making all these animations and I was like, oh my God, look how cool this looks. And I'm like, I can't believe I was able to co-create this on a computer with
Mm,
no coding skills. Like, I would
yeah,
look at other people created and just feel like, oh my God, I'm missing out. And now I can do it. And it's such a liberating feeling, and it's so empowering.
yeah. I mean, it's totally crazy time, and I mean, I don't think that AI will take over completely in the next 5 or 10 years. So I
Yeah.
don't think this will be happen. I don't know. I think many it feels like that everyone thinks this, that AI will take our jobs, but I'm totally different. Because I think, I mean, it's totally helpful, right? I mean, we notice this both. it's super crazy how it can push your productivity, but
Yeah.
at the same time it does really really stupid mistakes, and it would do it by them own. I mean, it would be not working. And I'm not sure if we can solve these issues with the technology we have currently. So, but therefore, I mean, we will still in the loop as a human. This is my belief,
Yeah.
and therefore we need to enjoy this AI stuff. So it's so cool.
Yeah, I think we should definitely enjoy and also be kind to AI. I don't know why. Like I feel like a lot of the times, at least earlier, when I used to like interact with AI, I was like, "Oh, why aren't you doing this?" And like I was rude. And now I'm like, "No, I need to be." I don't know why, but I feel like I need to be sweet to AI as well. Because if you behave really well with AI, guess what? They also behave well with you. Like that's what I've noticed. I don't know if it's in my head, but I'm like, good job, but can you tweak this one thing? Or I'll be like, this is a great start. Can you increase the sentence or increase the length of this paragraph? And it does such a better job than when you say, no, this is stupid. Can you rewrite this? Then it gives you like a mediocre result. So, I agree that I'm very excited, but also I'm very cautious and I'm like, no, no, I will stay kind to AI just in case.
Okay, for me it depends. When it's 10 p.m. and I want to go to bed and they are doing some mistakes, then I also start sometimes swearing a little bit.
But that's a very good experiment to do. That we have two chatbots, and with one we're being sweet, and with the other one we're being like normal, or we're not normal, but we're being like, "You're stupid. Why aren't you working?" And then see how the results are. I might try that later.
And maybe we need to create our own benchmark, so the sweet and serious
Yeah.
benchmark or something.
Yeah, yeah, that would be a fun experiment. Anyway, I'm gonna try that on my in my free time and I will let you know how that goes. But Marcus, thank you so much for jumping on this. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you. This was an incredible chat. I talked about so many different things and you just added color to all of that. I feel like I'm walking away from this conversation so much more wiser in areas I knew nothing about. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was really, I mean, so much fun. We did a really great job, and yeah, it was really funny. So we enjoyed it also.
Thank you so much.